The lead-in was that, of course, several months ago, I did start planning for the 800th episode with lots of special guests. There was going to be a musical number. I talked about Josh and I were planning a kind of a soft shoe, not competition, more of kind of just a friendly show-off. And that kind of went by the wayside when I realized that in the budget, we had enough room for this. So, and that's real dry erase marker. On there, and yeah, that's we went with that instead. We felt that would be satisfying and was on brand, so we did that.
Who's
instead.
We?
Satisfying.
It was just I counseled with myself and just decided to go for it.
Yeah. Well, you are the master of your own domain, or so I hear.
Thank you. Going to remain the master of my own domain.
That's good. All right, let's do a podcast. Hello, welcome to an historic occasion, the 800th episode of the PC Perspective podcast. You demanded it.
If it wasn't for people who had limited taste and low expectations, we would never have jobs.
We'd be out of a job completely, Josh.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So thank you for all of you that meet that high bar.
Shall we go around and introduce ourselves?
Lower every day.
Right on. Let's introduce yourself.
I'm Sebastian. Below me.
Pleased to meet you. I am Jeremy Hellstrom.
I'm Josh Walrath.
Thank you for joining us this evening. My name is Brett Van Spoonberg.
And I'm Kent Burgess. Even The Simpsons only has 774 episodes. Suck it, Matt Groening.
Yeah, that's right. We did it. We sat here and podcasted on almost every Wednesday night for years.
And we out-simped The Simpsons?
Years.
Wow. That is something.
Okay.
I'm touched.
Everybody wipe your tears. And other more sensitive areas.
I am the master of my own domain.
Yeah. I'm sure you are, but we're going to keep the
Hands
camera
on the table.
up above the equator. All right, we have to thank our patrons for allowing us to get to 800. That's patreon.com/PCPer. Be like Garling G. Not Darling, Garling G.
Garling G.
Yeah.
What if he's gargling G?
We'd still take their money.
It's a musical note. Now, Sebastian, I know we had Doc F last time, but I just felt really strongly we should thank them again.
Okay, Doc F, another shout out. And
yeah,
a message from Josh for, what does this say?
689, a strobogrammatic number or an orgy.
Okay. All right, Josh, take it away.
689, looks like, I'm looking at it. It looks like a young man's game is what it kind of looks like. I look at that and my back says no. My knees say even knower. And so let's just go strobogrammatic.
Because we ain't nothing but mammals?
Okay.
Sure.
Oh, nice. Nice pull.
All right, well, this has started off really strong. Let's move on to the food segment. Josh, take it away.
Oh, first they have fryers down. Then the guy who does the specials goes down to Denver to test out new equipment because they need new fryers and they're getting new stuff in and their kitchen is like seriously about 8 by 17 and it's a tiny space for a full restaurant kitchen, but somehow they do it. But there was no special today. So I had to get the old, usual, the Plainsman. The Plainsman is, I don't know why it came out so dark this time, but it did. My lighting's not great. But it is 2 quarter pound patties, We've got some green chilies on there. We've got some onions. We've got some chipotle sauce on there. And then fry sauce. So it's a rather saucy burger. Nicely done. Everything nicely caramelized. The bun was well done and crunchy. The fries, I can't, I only put 2 of them there. I got a whole bunch of them, but
I got a thing going here,
put them in there for reference. So as you can see, they're nicely crisp on the outside. They're well seasoned. It was another outstanding meal that has filled me up for the next 24 hours, as they often do. Goodness knows I need to do more intermittent fasting. So here's to me.
All right, it's time for that weekly segment that you all love so much. It's Let's Check the 9800 X3D stock status. First, we're going to newegg.com. Just done a search for 9800 X3D here. Search results showing motherboard, other motherboard. These aren't even bundles. These are just boards. And that's it, page 1 of 1. So it's as if it doesn't exist on Newegg. Let's go to Amazon. I'm sure there's some scammy third-party seller with one for like
they call those
$700.
offers. That's what they call those.
Okay, so search results on Amazon 9800 X3D. These are actual search results. And look, I'll show you in real time searching. It shows the 7800 X3D for $458.96.
Yeah.
And
you can get
notice
a PC. No, not even they have it, do they?
Well, look at that. You can get a CyberPower Gamer Supreme with the 9800 X3D for just $1929.99. But you're going to notice there's a trend here. You can't buy them, and they don't even have the listings up anymore. Let's say out of stock. Now,
up in Canada, we have a bunch of really good pre-orders going.
Oh, okay. What are the Amazon best sellers for CPU? Like how it says, computer CPU processors. Okay.
Shouldn't it say computer CPU processing units? Just to make it completely and utterly redundant?
Computer processing units.
Number 1 on the list is the Ryzen 7. I should have done this Letterman style and started at 10. Anyway, number 1. All right, let's start over again.
There's still time. There's still time.
Get it in the post.
It's time for the PC Perspective Top 10 list. Coming in at number 10 on the top
the unattainable
processors on Amazon.com. Number 10 is the Ryzen 7 5700X3D. Number 9, Ryzen 7 7700X.
Well, I think number
right there,
10.
Number 8 is the.
You're not practiced at this, are you?
No, he's not very good at this.
What are you talking about?
Well, you're not reading the number flags.
Yes, I am.
Jeremy, you did see it, right?
Does anybody really miss the David Letterman top 10 list?
I kind of do.
Not really.
Number 10 reason I don't miss the David Letterman top 10.
Number is on the top left. Guys, look. Number is on the top left. Anyway, who cares? Number 1 selling processor on Amazon.com is actually the 5700X because it's so cheap.
Correct,
I mean, cheap always wins. Cheap always wins. The number 2 is, the 12700KF. That's exciting. And if you go down to number 8, there is the Ryzen 7 9800X3D. And it says 12 offers from $669.95. So this is the only path to viewing those third-party. It says no featured offers available.
Well, see all buying options. There is a button there. I mean, maybe there's something.
Oh, I see. So I guess because they're so far above MSRP, they're not being promoted. I don't know. I don't know.
About a week ago, they had it at regular price from Amazon, but shipping expected in between January 22nd and 25th.
So those pictures, the Mind Factory stuff, Lisa Sue in front of a table full of them, I'm sure there were thousands of them for sale initially, but clearly demand was more than just a few thousand. So not exactly a paper launch, but there was only a fairly small number available, and now they're just gone until next year, perhaps. Unless you want to buy a pre-built, because I'm sure a bunch went out to
seems that way.
Pretty and expensive wrapping for your CPU. And
now,
if only Kelt would tell us how many he received.
Exactly.
That'd be nice.
If you're in the chat, just drop us just a hint.
Yeah.
Give us a
And
number.
I do want to... Go ahead.
No, just say, give us a number, a specific number between 1 and 1 million. It'll be just between you and
Sebastian, I do want to apologize for interrupting your dramatic reading of the top 10 list. It was going very smoothly until I rudely interrupted. I apologize.
Well, I mean, this is normal. Get no respect. It's fine. It keeps me in check. Keeps me from having a dangerous amount of self-confidence. All right. Oh, by the way, if you are thinking about getting one of those X3Ds, but obviously you can't right now, just planning ahead for the future, Gigabyte might be the solution for your next AM5 motherboard, because they have the exclusive right now on that X3D turbo mode. We've talked about this on previous shows. TweakTown took a look at this, and there is a performance boost to be had, not just on those X3D processors, but on all compatible processors on the AM5 socket.
I don't know. There's no
that
performance.
sure looks like all of them.
There's no change to power limits, I understand. What is this? What's this really doing here?
What is it? Just deprioritizing the non 3D Vcache cores? But how would that affect the
turbo
non
mode
parts?
Why are you questioning turbo mode?
This is like with the button callback, isn't it? With the turbo button on the front.
It's so misunderstood too. V Westlife has an excellent video on the turbo mode on YouTube, by the way, if you ever want to watch that.
Yeah,
didn't always mean faster. It sometimes meant compatible.
But you need a brand new Agisa. Sorry about that, Sebastian.
Oh, of course. That goes without saying for everything in life.
And I don't know if it's just me, but Aorus AI Snatch just seems like an odd name to give a program. But that's what you install to be able to tell whether or not X3D turbo mode is active or not. It's certainly a name. So I have a feeling that they've kind of really worked at sort of optimizing how they're dealing with the X3D part of the chip, and maybe jumping around a bit. They aren't being very forthcoming. I don't expect that to last very long as other motherboard manufacturers come out with this feature, because it's not going to be specific to Gigabyte. Like, there's no way it's specific to AMD. Yes,
Asus has it on a couple of their ROGs as well.
Hardware power balancing, so it does do something with power.
Yeah, it's not just more power, but what it is exactly, we don't know yet. Someone's going to have to play with it a bit more.
Mm-hmm.
It says performance improvement may vary by processor model and DRAM conditions.
Yeah.
So it could
be you're not going to see as big a jump on a 600 series as you will on an 800. It's pretty much a given, I would think.
Don't you have to have an 800 for this, or no?
No, 600 series.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So something exciting to look forward to. It's a nice consolation when you can't buy the processor that every tech tuber has told you is the number one,
the best
gaming processor in the world.
So does AI Snatch have like subsettings like AI Bricktop or AI Bullet Tooth Tony?
I'm hoping so. No one sent me a new processor or motherboard to be able to verify this, so. And I'm
Does that now become an aged?
We used it, Josh, so yes. Yes, it has. Okay. Like a fine cheese, not an old meat.
Not a Munster, more of a Gorgonzola.
Yeah.
And you know what goes great with cheese? Obviously, fine wine. As NVIDIA's stock continues to mature, and season after season, they're producing the richest of, I don't even know what I'm saying. Josh, I want to talk about NVIDIA financials. They just popped out. They're fresh.
You know what? Their there's a reason why they are the most valuable tech company in the world, often, surpassing Apple. They just had a record quarter again, $35 billion in revenue, $19 billion in net income. They have a gross margin of 74.6%. Yeah, it's what, 94% growth year on year? Are you kidding me? Oh, no, it's they're printing money there in Santa Clara. And good for them. They were right place, right time, right management, right technology. Just, they're riding the lightning and they're loving it. The only bad news that they kind of had is the next quarter revenue is expected to be only $37.5 billion, only, $2.5 billion extra dollars per quarter. People were expecting far more, this gravy train to grow infinitely. And we all know it is not going to grow infinitely, but this is still insane that this company has grown this much, $35 billion. And to put that in perspective, which is what we do essentially every week, Intel was what, 14 billion this last quarter, and AMD was 7 billion. So those combined were a whopping 21 billion as compared to NVIDIA, 14 billion more dollars in the bag just this quarter.
There is one winner in the AI game.
Funds and they invested in NVIDIA 10 years ago, your funds are very happy. It was weird because, I had this graph of money that I invested worth, and it was just always like this for the last couple of years. And then finally, 3 years ago, it started to do this. And it made the little man very, in my heart that does my accounting, very happy.
Their margin this quarter was probably more than their total value as a company 5-6 years ago. That's crazy.
Like I said, there's one winner in the AI game, and it's NVIDIA.
I mean, I'm not saying that. I mean, they're definitely the winner, but AMD has been pulled by the coattails, and their MI300 series are doing some good sales, but they're just nothing as compared to this. Blackwell is continuing to be sold. They believe, they've not continuing, but they started to ship it in pretty good numbers. The issue with Blackwell is that I think it's COWS. It's the chip manufacturing, chip on wafer substrate. There's only so much space out there in that manufacturing type, and that's affecting kind of everybody. They've showed off these machines. There was one machine that they had originally kind of spec'd out, and now they've put that back behind curtains. They're supposedly not going to be releasing it. It's just an insane amount of money that these guys are making all on AI, and Blackwell is going to be showing up for consumers probably in January with CES. They're going to talk about that. Gaming is still, it's a significant number for most everybody, except for NVIDIA. I mean, they made 30.8 billion on data center, and how much is that? It's hard to see. 3.38 billion on gaming. So we know who's buttering their muffin. COWOS, sorry.
No, it's cows.
Come on, give me a break. I missed the second
cows.
Cows.
It's now cows.
But everything is coming up roses for them. They're still like the most popular software stack, utilizing CUDA for all of this stuff, all of their equipment. They continue to develop it. they're still, working on other things like automotive. It's what, $500 million there. What's $500 million between friends? Come on, Jensen, I'm your friend. Professional
Elon's throwing
that's still
a few
thing.
billion
That's
at him for that. Josh, Elon's throwing a few billion at that. Elon has thrown some billions at him in order to do auto drive training. He's standing up a company. We'll be buying many.
Yeah, didn't Patrick from Serve the Home went to their big AI center that Musk had created and did a little tour of it. So yeah, it's just not. I mean, they are running supreme, and it's going to be interesting when they start getting more into their CPUs, the Grace Hopper stuff, and see what they do there. It's just nuts. I didn't expect them to get this big. I thought that they would be, they're aggressive. The CEO's aggressive. They ever since the failure of the FX series, they've just hammered on the market with, good architecture after good architecture. Well, there were a couple of slip ups like the GTX 970 with its disaggregated memory that caused some issues. Everything else has been great and expensive to consumers. They've really raised the prices on the top end, which is disappointing for guys like you and I, because spending $1,900 on a top of the line GPU is just not going to happen for the vast majority, unless of course your name is Nevermind. What else? Yeah, kids are expensive. So there you go.
Money.
For our viewers out there that might be in need of a kidney, I am looking at putting mine on the market sometime in January, possibly both of them, depending on what prices look like on a 5090.
Maybe you can trade in a car for it.
Probably
I think
not.
you'd rather give up the kidney.
So, yeah, it's just nuts. Again, as I was going off, I thought that they would get near to Intel levels, but not really surpass them, and just kind of be the little brother to Intel. AMD was always, seemingly going to be third. Who knows if that'll keep up or not? Maybe it's going to be AMD and Intel will be neck and neck, and NVIDIA is just out there. But part of this just, it depends on the consumption of this silicon for certain data types that may or may not become profitable for people. Is it worth it? I mean, is it worth it to create a 15-second movie that uses, $15,000 GPU that pulls in 1,000 watts, and how much energy is expended to do that, and what are they willing to charge? It's going to be very interesting, the economics of AI and how it works. And this is an area where efficiency will become king, because the more efficient parts you are, the more performance you're going to be able to get, and the lower cost that you can hammer. So it's a brave new world, and NVIDIA is certainly the ones on the cutting edge, and they are reaping the benefits of having a very, very mature stack in terms of software and outstanding hardware. That's all I got.
They laid the groundwork with CUDA, and now they're just squeezing the market for every penny.
Reaping the benefits.
Yep.
Josh, are you excited?
Yes, J340. The real winner is TSMC, at least for now.
Yes, because they were looking at cutting down production in some of their lines here a couple of years back, because stuff just GPUs were selling during the pandemic, then it kind of fell off, but then this rise of AI just yeah, it is supercharged that company as well. And they're the only one who is offering these cutting edge things. Apple, of course, is their really prime mover of next generation nodes. So it would be nice. Yeah. It'd be nice if Intel and Global Foundries would be able to do something, but we're not there yet.
No, everything's always.
And I do love our fans because it was immediately pointed out that ASML is the real winner because they make the things that make the things that we buy. So
all the tool makers.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
They make them and they make money off of them, but they only sell so many. And then TSMC makes,
but they only make
money back. Okay. It wasn't on the list, but Josh, I have to point out that you were right.
Sure.
And I was wrong. Because there was a report, this one is from PC Games N, that Intel Battlemage GPU boxes, they were on some shipping manifest. It's happening. If they're ordering the packaging, you've got to think there's going to be a retail.
It's going to be shipping.
Of a DGPU.
Yeah.
I thought for sure they would cut
your stock calendar.
They're cutting costs, so why wouldn't they cut this? Why wouldn't they cut a DGPU launch when they have no discernible market share, according to JPR?
Because they made that mistake twice. They didn't stick with it. And it has been to their dismay. 1998, 99, they decided, you know what, this 3D graphics thing, it's overrated. Eventually, we're going to have CPUs that can do all of this, and all of this 3D graphics just going to go by the wayside, not thinking far enough ahead of all the really wonderful things that software could do, what they could do to, enhance scenes, all of this stuff. And then in 2008, 2009, we had the Larrabee, and because of Intel is a not invented type of here type thing, not as much as they used to be, but back then definitely, they didn't want to go a full regular GPU. They wanted to throw many small x86 cores at it, and each core was attached to a rather robust vector unit. It had a couple of fixed function things for like texture filtering, but it was a large, slow GPU as compared to the competition, which was much more focused on not producing a part with 52 x86 processors in it with vector units attached. It was a bad decision to go that way. And then they brought in Raja to kind of sweep up, and this was the smartest thing he did, because this was before AI. And I mean, they were looking at, how NVIDIA was growing, how this was becoming, a solid portfolio for AMD. I mean, even though AMD was, scratching the bottom of the barrel, they could see what they were doing with their CPUs and the RDNA architecture, in that they had a unified architecture as compared to Intel, which had 20 different GPU SKUs that their software people had to try to support best they can, and didn't do very well because there were some SKUs that supported certain functionality that the others didn't, and they had to work around that through software, and it was awful. And the drivers were always late, and they were not very good. And so they've obviously gone with a single architecture per generation that they can more adequately write the software for, and it's still the technology that is going into the Gaudi things, which are selling. They're not selling like hotcakes, but they're still selling. And Intel still has an outstanding software section, and their overall software stack and compilers are still second to none. And so if I were them, and I'm not them, but if I were, I think this would still be money well spent, because not only are you getting this technology for future CPUs with integrated graphics that you desperately need, because you're going to be still doing AI stuff. You may have NPUs on your mobile parts, but there's still going to be stuff that will leverage a more advanced graphics core. We live in a much more visual compute environment where you're still going to need to push those pixels, and 3D games are not going away. Mobile games are not going away. Things that will actually leverage that stuff. is still a major part. And so it makes sense for them, especially if they want to really, truly compete in the data center as they used to and grow. They've got to make discrete graphics chips because those become the basis of their heavy duty data center AI focused stack. They just have to do it. And you know what? You can help bolster your do two things. I mean, bolster your bottom line by selling these, and gamers buy them, albeit right now at a much lower level. But you're also giving these college programmers who are, working on AI and this stuff for the first time, you're giving them a cheap option to put in their computer and stay up late at night and do testing and development and get used to that software stack. See what you can do, what kind of new things that you can do. And they have to get those out to the people. They've got to seed the community. Otherwise, it's these people who go to college and buy these things, they eventually get jobs. And in those jobs, they utilize the tools that they are familiar with. And that's where NVIDIA obviously has the majority of mind share. But you've got to start somewhere. And having a discrete GPU, it may seem like a waste of money. But if you really want to go for that big brass ring, this is a step you have got to take. Otherwise, you're just, you're wishing down a well to be able to do something, because you're just not building the foundation for getting that kind of mind share. I don't know. I could be wrong, but
I think you've done a really good job of describing exactly what NVIDIA did to get where they are today.
Yeah.
And it does not necessarily mean that Intel will do the same.
They might.
They're going to spend money that they don't have to push a discrete GPU product to gamers who don't have any faith in it. And there are some people who are kind of in the know and they know to buy them as really good, like streaming sidecar GPU devices. And for your primary gaming GPU, they just go NVIDIA, unless they're one of that, elite group of Team Red, card-carrying members of Team Red,
like
Radeon graphics cards products. Moving on to the next story. Microsoft reveals a Windows 11 remote recovery tool. Is this nefarious?
Why would they,
Jeremy?
Why would they need such a thing? Why? What's the purpose of it?
Nothing's happened, in very recent memory that caused blue screens of death to spread throughout the world, causing huge inconveniences and significant problems, and a variety of issues in between. So no, I can't imagine why they'd think about doing something like this. They suggest, and this is interesting because Microsoft is not necessarily the best at this sort of thing, because they're going to catch the system somewhere in between booting from the BIOS and the Windows kernel loading, and allow you to push very specific Windows updates to remote computers. So you're catching it just in that bootstrap sequence before the kernel, which has been tainted by the malware update, malware bytes update. I'm not sure which I mean there. And inject in a fix that will no longer require you to go to that machine physically and fix the problem. I love the idea, because when you've got several hundred machines down and you are one single person that needs to physically bring them back up because people can't follow simple instructions anymore, I love the idea. On the other hand, remote access to the boot process, it gives me quivers in uncomfortable places, because that means that there is now remote access during the boot process. So it's a juggling act here between whether I think this is brilliant in that you could now feasibly get all the machines back up and running again when whatever happens that causes widespread blue screens of death, versus giving somebody a doorway. It's locked, but that doesn't mean much, to infect you in between that boot process. It's interesting to see how this is going to work. They also seem to be announcing, because they're having an AI conference about AI this week that's run by AI and is called AI Ignite AI. So they've also announced a number of things, and the other is a new Windows 11 Administrator Protection Security feature, which will ensure that every single user you've got where this is enabled is not running as admin, up to and including your admins. You can't log in as an admin. You need to run as an admin, which is something really dear to my heart. It warms those cockles just a little bit. At the same time, I am terrified that this remote patching system is not going to work out as well as we want. And then I read that, this protection security feature is tied to Windows Hello, which, well, we've got to get rid of Windows Hello in most corporate networks. So, yeah, Jeremy, overall, I'm just sort of curious and terrified.
We already have practically non-detectable EFI bootloader malware.
See, I was going to mention that, but I didn't want to.
So,
because it's not Security Corner.
Is this? Well, it's not.
It feels like Security Corner.
It's
another layer.
Oh,
it is. But
so you've got the unremovable EFI bootloader.
You already have that.
You need to toss the motherboard out, but it needs updating. And the Windows kernel might catch that, or the antivirus running inside the Windows kernel might catch that. So now you've got a way to push your updates to the EFI bootloader in a place where Windows still can't see it.
I mean, in case all the tongue-in-cheek, happened, some time ago was lost on people, this is in reference to CrowdStrike, of course. That knocked out all kinds of computers in critical areas down to a blue screen of death. It's to address that situation. Should it ever happen?
That's why I misnamed them, because I didn't want to have to remember the trauma that I went through.
It's okay.
Because, it was CrowdStrike, not Malwarebytes. It was hundreds of machines that physically needed to be fondled.
Yeah. By the way, we were talking about the possible alternative to NVIDIA's dominance, and Josh was talking about this possible bright future for Intel. But there is another, okay? Just like in The Empire Strikes Back.
No.
So videocards.com is reporting about the Radeon RX 9000. We talked about UDNA several weeks back now. AMD is moving away from RDNA. They're moving away from CDNA. They're going to have a universal DNA. And those GPUs could be entering mass production in Q2 of 2026. According to this rumor.
It's going to be a bit of a wait time. A little wait time on that.
Hey, just in time for the PlayStation 6, right?
Well, apparently they've got a commitment from Sony on this. They've got a commitment from it, right? I mean, potentially anyways, I guess. They say it's going to look a lot more like GCN than RDNA.
So it's going to be like the Radeon Panspermia?
RDNA already looked a lot like GCN if you were to actually study the architecture.
Their slices are all kind of look the same. Yeah. I mean, from when... it's enhanced, obviously. Mm-hmm. I am looking forward to the 8000 series going, and have an actual good ray tracing performance, possibly a better price point. What's not to love? Hopefully it will be something reasonable. It will be more than a 5700 XT.
Hey, the 5700 XT was great in its day. It was right there with the 1080 Ti.
That's right.
In that pre-ray tracing world, we had real competition.
And immediately was overshadowed.
Oh.
Yeah. The 20 series kind of took it out.
Well, the 20 series was a dark time for everybody because it was...
Well, there was a lot of
how dare you bring up HBM?
A lot of overlap with the 10 series on that one, so...
Hey, I liked HBM. I still have my Vega 56. I will keep that damn thing forever. It's my first HBM-enabled product.
But as usual, AMD was a little bit too soon to market, but HBM 2 and 3 are doing well.
Mm-hmm. And other
consumer-wise.
Yes. It's just
it's such a bad consumer product because you've got to have a large interposer, you've got to have an extra step of integration. And also, I mean, it's kind of, I think that we're going to get away from, it's going to be a monolithic design with the 8000 series because, again, consumer level design having that kind of COWOS, I think that's the process they use. It's just too expensive.
All right, moving on to another story from videocards.com. Microsoft finally releases that Windows 11 ISO for ARM. I've been waiting for this. There are so many possibilities with virtualization and testing out Windows on ARM, on different ARM-powered devices. I don't know if you can put it on a Raspberry Pi, but you can try.
Don't make pies cry.
It's finally available. You can finally inflict Windows 11 on maybe an Android platform. Who knows? But people get really creative.
Maybe redo your Surface.
Mm-hmm.
Well, anything synonymous
that was the thing.
Snapdragon.
Yeah, because your Snapdragon goes funky. Oh, we'll just download the Windows boot USB from Microsoft. You don't have one. I can't get it. Well, now they're going to. And for 5 gigs, that is a little bit impressive. Don't know if you've downloaded the latest Windows 11 ISO, but it's not.
It's not 5
anywhere
gigs?
Near the neighborhood of 5 gig. No.
Well, they've got to have Copilot and other invasive features baked right into the ISO now. So
helpful features.
Trying to think. The last time I did an ISO, it wasn't that big. Let me check. I just did one the other day.
It used to be like
but brand new. You set it up, it downloads and downloads.
Oh, well, okay.
And downloads. Yes, the actual program to set up the USB drive is small.
Microsoft Ignite 2024, they've introduced the Windows 365 link. Now, this is obviously going to be an ARM-powered device, right? Right?
It's what's up. It's Windows as a service that they always wanted to do.
It almost doesn't matter what that processor is because it's all remote.
Really?
It's all streaming.
It only needs something to run the network card.
It has no local storage.
I thought I heard this was x86.
It doesn't have local storage. You can
doubt it.
Access as like a C drive, but and it does not have the ability to run local applications.
No, everything's
Windows
a service.
Chromebook.
Chromebooks actually have Chrome on it. This doesn't even have Windows on it. It's a cloud-based version of Windows. It's literally a glorified network card with outputs and with USB ports and a display.
Yeah.
And they want $350 for it.
It's probably running Linux.
Functions as a router.
It's probably running some sort of Linux.
You think?
I don't know. Maybe. That'd be amusing.
The actual bootloader? Yes, I think so. So they're not detailing it. Supposedly it's some sort of Intel processor, but we don't know. 8 gigs of RAM, 64 gigs of local storage for your OneDrive, essentially. So you don't have to download it while you're on the plane.
It's a cache. It's a cache.
Yeah, it literally is.
Pretty sure if it's an Intel processor, it's going to be x86.
But what? Why would you bother with an x86 for this?
Because they probably got it really cheap. I don't know.
Could be.
Are they trying to find a use for the Core Ultra? The wonderful new processor they released?
Ooh, that hurts. That's painful.
Actually, I just recommend one for a friend because all he does is office work. And hey, at that price, brand new laptop, brand new warranty. Yeah, it's not bad.
All right. I think it's time for Insecurity Corner.
Welcome to Insecurity Corner, your weekly reason to drink.
Now, this first headline was very confusing. I saw Jeremy post this, and I said, he made a mistake. I got to change this to 2024. But
no, it took him a long time to figure it out.
Followed the link, and in 2024, nearly 2025, Jeremy's posting about 2023's top 15 security nightmares. Are you going to do this Letterman style? Are you going to start at number 15 and have Brett talk about it?
No.
Oh.
I mean, I'm going to point out that this is from the Five Eyes, which consists of Australia, New Zealand, the UK, and US and Canada. So yes, of course it's taken this long to get last year's worst security issues out. But no, I mean, I can start quickly from the bottom 5. So the 5th was Fortinet, that VPN service that's definitely not being used by major corporations across the planet. Their FortiOS allowed remotely executed code just by sending it a little bit of a buffer overflow. Nothing major that would ever happen, not in the basic hacker's toolkit. So, yeah, your corporate VPN was owned by a mere buffer overflow with then some code stuck in the bottom. Then Cisco tried really hard, but they only got 3rd and 4th place. This was because they let a non-privileged account elevate to root access and just randomly allowing code that wasn't validated to run as root. Because,
Jeremy,
oops, sorry.
Jeremy, do I remember a Cisco Perfect 10, or was that this year? I'm trying to remember.
You are not wrong, but you're also not right.
Okay.
Because, yes, it was a Perfect 10 both times.
Oh, all right then. Okay.
But
I misremembered correctly.
Yeah. We have to hand it to Citrix. Top 1 and 2 for those people that can still afford to run it. We're looking at a remote execution bug in their NetScaler ADC and gateway, only ever bought by large corporations, and for those same products, leaking sensitive information when they were configured as you were told to configure them. So it would give you like the authentication server, the accounting server, just about literally anything you needed to know. So hey, it was a lovely year looking back, because sometime in 2026, when 2024's worst things come out, it's going to be so much worse. And the reason it'll take them an extra year is because 2025's will have knocked them out and they won't be able to put them out.
They'll be offline for most of the year.
Yeah.
This didn't make sense to me as the 2023. I was in the same boat as Sebastian. Then I realized, oh wait, 2024 is not actually over. There still could be a grab for the brass ring here at the end of the year. So you're not really sure who's going to come out on top. It's a real race, though. I think Cisco's got a strong contender.
They are this year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Next, a critical 9.8 rated VMware vCenter RCE bug exploited after a patch fumble, as it's being put here at the register.
Well, I mean, this is Broadcom They tried. I mean, this is like the try-hard, version. So VMware, also used by mid-size and larger companies, did patch 2 significant vulnerabilities back in September. But then they realized that didn't actually fix the problem. So they reissued the similar patches in October to fix the same problems essentially again. Unfortunately, not everyone got the message. So this is more like an awareness if your organization or your company is still continuing to run VMware vCenter. You're going to want to look into this, because the next link, Sebastian, shows that this bug they have announced is actually being executed in the wild, or being taken advantage of in the wild. So it's a nice juicy target for the hackers, because behind this is usually a large fleet of virtual machines being managed by this engine. So it's pretty sweet to gain access and control of the panel that manages all the VMs. It's a nice target for the hackers.
It's a handy patient zero to spread very quickly.
It's being exploited in the wild, and some of you are already victims. I can't imagine people not watching this podcast, so now everyone knows. Am I right? Everyone should now know.
Especially that segment of the podcast is so popular.
Yes, very.
Except for the people that figure that patching is just a scam and you shouldn't do it.
Oh, it's beneath them. They don't need to do that. That's just like a waste of time.
More testing is needed. Oh, that was all we did? Oh, thank you. There was other horrible things this week, but 2 for Insecurity Corner is pretty good.
There were a lot of horrible things, but you know what? Gaming started to fatten up a little bit, so kind of slim down.
Yeah, let's move on to that. It's so much nicer.
Yeah, it is.
Can you believe that's the end of Insecurity Corner already? It was a pretty good week in the world of hardware insecurity.
Don't lie to them.
You can look at it that way.
Don't give them any hope of ruining us next week. So
please,
let's just zip it.
Well, next week's a holiday week. I'm sure a lot of places will just be kind of down.
And there you go.
Not worried about it. Let's move to gaming quick hits. And our top story, this is great. As long as the Internet Archive is up. Which
hey, they're back.
Right now. They are back.
Yes, they are back from the prolonged attacks against them.
You can upload to it, apparently, because Unreal Gold and Unreal Tournament Game of the Year installers arrive on the Internet Archive.
Technically, they're not allowed to host the whole games, but they're allowed to host the installer, which then downloads the ISO, which then installs it. I don't know. It seems odd.
Subtle.
But, hey,
subtle.
Whatever. But these are the original ones. And so all of us who, remember just sort of, why does that enemy look so weird? Why does it keep getting bigger and bigger as it comes to me as I've crawled through this tunnel? And oh my God, that's a Titan. What the hell? Unreal was one of the best of the old shooters. It was just well named. But then
remember everybody talking about how good the sky looked in Unreal?
Oh, yes. Hey, how long did it take you to sink in that benchmark flying around the Citadel there?
And the wind noises and yeah.
This is with Epic's blessing, by the way. This is not just somebody uploaded it. Epic said, no, go ahead, put it on the archive. It's free now.
Yeah, we totally stole it from Steam and told them they weren't allowed to distribute it anymore, but there's a little bit. They would rather
give it away for free than let Steam make a penny off of it.
Yes.
That sounds like an attitude of several companies.
Now, what is going on here? This is interesting. I did not even know this was happening. Blizzard just quietly released Warcraft 1 and 2 remasters.
And they look like Zynga games made by a blind duck.
They look like
Scroll down to one of the videos.
Upscaling, kind of.
Oh no, it's worse than you think.
What?
Oh no.
Oh.
Just play one of the okay.
These are games that I care about a lot.
I am sorry to hear that.
It's going to hurt me if they have destroyed. But I have the GOG versions, and they have integer scaling and all that good stuff. So
yeah, integer scaling worked. Advance it a bit because they do their whole little thing there.
Okay.
They'll do some swipes.
Gameplay. It's too glossy looking. I like the pixel. It's not bad though. I mean, if the gameplay is the same.
Oh no, wait.
What?
It's just.
This is not that bad.
It's not good.
Okay. Well, look. The important thing is
obviously a matter of taste.
That people are playing Warcraft and Warcraft 2. It wasn't that long ago that whoever it was who was in charge of Blizzard was saying that these games, they're just not fun anymore. They're too dated. But obviously they are. So whatever. All right, if you like that,
call me when they redo StarCraft. I'll be on board.
Will you? Will they ruin it for you?
StarCraft 2 wasn't all that, but StarCraft.
Speaking of sequels, Stalker 2, Heart of Chernobyl. It wants all your hardware. Look at these recommendations. If you want to hit a smooth enthusiast recommended resolution of 1440p, even just 60 frames per second, not even 144, you need at least a Ryzen 7 5800X or an equivalent Intel Core i7 processor, a Radeon RX 6800 XT or higher, and the minimum recommended GeForce card is a 3070 Ti or a 4070. 32 gigs of dual channel memory. Not any of this single channel nonsense.
Not that single channel stuff. Put them in the right slots, people.
160 gigabytes of SSD space and Windows 10 or 11.
It's a CPU that's curious. Will this actually become a CPU benchmark you can run at something higher than 720?
I don't know. 1080 low. I mean, you could do 1080 low with a 4090. That's how people game in the real world.
Yes, of course. But yeah, it dropped today, and oh, Lord, the bugs. Apparently, it's not great. There are several
PC game launches are now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, this isn't even a console port, though. It's straight to PC. But yeah, apparently there are like several quest-breaking bugs. There's one item you need that's you need to find it to be able to progress the quest, but it's literally the same mesh and everything as everything surrounding you, so no one's found it. It's pretty, but it's not particularly sane at this point. They're promising they're going to be patching it really quickly, so free up another 160 gigs of that hard drive. It's probably going to be a big patch. But I hope it works out. I enjoy. Yeah, I specifically enjoyed the first one the most, but some of the follow-ups weren't bad. But that first Stalker game was brilliant, even if it was nowhere near as good as it could have been. And I think you still, if you search for that on PCPer, find the download of the original Stalker with vehicles and a variety of other things. You can still nab off the internet somewhere.
Next, Valve developers discuss why Half-Life 2 Episode 3 was abandoned. There's this documentary. It has footage of unused ice gun and blob enemies.
There was a shitter comment that, well, can't we just use the original guns? And they said something along the lines of, well, the buttons you press are your own choices. Apparently, no gravity gun or ice gun instead of gravity gun upset some people out in the public. But yes, there is a variety of reasons why we never got Episode 3. Not Half-Life 3, Episode 3. And looking back, all of them are kind of just upsetting. Mostly because they thought they wouldn't be appreciated.
Back in 2008, when they were working on this, or they wrapped it, they were moving off to Left 4 Dead. The devs moved off.
Portal.
Actually, yeah, and it was before 2008, actually. So they were working on Episode 3 before that. All the devs moved off of there. And the reason why some of this was going to be set in the Arctic, if folks remember, my opinion is that it was going to be the Aperture crossover, with the Borealis, if people know
that was
the story behind that.
It showed up in both the games.
My opinion, yeah, in my opinion, that was exactly what was going to be more in line with, and that was going to be sort of the Aperture tie-in. This episode 3. Anyway, the point is they the devs all went off and worked on Left 4 Dead, and they finished that up in 2010 or so, and they tried to get back to Episode 3, and it felt like it needed a lot of updating and years worth of work, and it had been years since they'd worked on it, so they just never really got accelerated and happy with it again, and it just languished and died. That's kind of what happened.
Yeah, if you have 2 hours, watch that documentary. It's pretty interesting, especially the amount of work that they did in like a year and a half from when they had the hack that took one of the builds of Half-Life 2 and showed it to be really unpolished and not very fun. And then that really seemed to have lit a fire under the devs, because what they delivered was truly a transformational 3D game for the time. I mean, Doom 3 was released a couple of months before it, and that was kind of panned. Yeah, they did a lot of interesting things, shadows and lighting, but when you turn your back and suddenly a broom closet opens up and monsters jump and attack you, and then the broom closet within the broom closet opens up and more monsters attack you unaware, was not a very fun experience. But Half-Life 2, I mean, one of the things that I still remember is going on the underneath of the bridge scene. And if you have, you know, fear of heights or fear of open spaces, and the way they did the audio and how it looked.
I really did not enjoy that part at all.
There were a lot of people who had a hard time with that, where
it felt bad
and vertigo.
yeah,
it
seriously felt
it was amazing, absolutely amazing.
Yep, great experience. Would play again.
Yeah.
Real quick, I'll mention a review at PCPer.com. This is a written review for computer memory. One of the most exciting topics in the PC enthusiast space, obviously, is timings, voltage, sub-timings, more voltage talk. It's all here. And you can look at these DIMMs from Crucial, and I think their main selling point is their understated and completely RGB-free design. Look at this origami-inspired heat spreader.
You know, heck with that. They could have done a Half-Life thing, because remember the walls of the, the gosh dang it. What is it? Not the Covenant.
Citadel?
Combine, and the walls of the Citadel. It had that black, multi.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sort of monolith,
they missed an opportunity, Crucial.
Faceted monolith look. Yes.
Look, even the top line, completely devoid of any lighting of any kind. Not just the RGB lighting, any lighting. And if you look at what's inside, now this is a Crucial product, so naturally it's Micron DIMMs. These are not going to break any overclocking records. This is D-die. Not a whole lot of enthusiast talk about D-die out there, as far as I know.
No, they prefer B-die, but still.
The frequencies are there, but the latency isn't really there. It's CL38 at 6,400 megatransfers per second, and it's CL36 if you step down to the second profile. XMP2 and Expo2 are both a 6,000 CL36. Both of those presets are at 1.35 volts. With timings like this, you don't have to aggressively go up to 1.4. Now, I'm sure you could tighten up the timings, go down to like 32 at 1.4, as we've seen with other kits. But I prefer to live at 1.35 volts in my Ryzen experiments.
You've had a bad experience.
I've had multiple bad experiences at 1.4 volts.
Yeah.
So looking at some quick results here, which I just left as a screenshot of my spreadsheet because I didn't feel like making... Who wants to see charts for this kind of data? But with the brand new 9800 X3D on a Gigabyte X870E Aorus Elite Wi-Fi 7 motherboard with a 4090, we saw very little to differentiate Expo Profile 1, 2, and even the JDEC defaults, honestly, 5600. CL46 wasn't far behind. You did get 2 frames per second more than Cyberpunk on average at 1080 high with both the 6400 and the 6000 megatransfers per second. But the only difference really was like maybe 1% lows were 1 frame better with the 6400 versus the 6000. But
that feels like...
Well, that's easily spottable.
It feels like you had today's dream machine that you're running this on right now, actually. For
basically, I do. I'm so lucky to have access to the hardware that people just can't buy. And it doesn't irritate people at all to see articles like this.
Never does.
I'm just like flaunting that fact.
Well, except for the RAM. The RAM's affordable.
Yeah, the kit price is only $89.99 for 32 gigabytes of 6400 at 1.35 volts. What's not to like?
The price of the motherboard, I need to stick it in and... Oh, right. Yeah. Okay.
I don't know if you get that Gigabyte one and you get the free $120 worth of 32 gigs of Corsair memory. I think that takes it down to a very affordable spot for 870E.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you got to jump on that journey dust before that X39 appears for sale again.
The what? X39
or the X3D.
X39.
The Ryzen X39, baby. I'm going to plug that in.
Wait, was it in the
Canadian
one way or the other?
All right. I think we should just move to picks of the week. Josh, what do you think?
You know what? We were told that SSD prices would just become phenomenally high.
Yeah.
That has not happened. Next storage, Phison, essentially. You can get the 2 terabyte for $110. That's a solid part. Comes with a heatsink. I mean, what more do you want? $110 for 2 terabytes of
I don't know.
fast...
It's still not 5 cents a gig.
wait,
you, Ryan.
It is close. It's damn close.
It's close. It's damn close.
But no, it's a heck of a deal. There are other good SSDs out there. I think Western Digital, their SN850X 4 terabyte is like $260, which I would consider a solid buy as well for, price, performance, and quality. Just make sure you update the firmware on it.
Yes. Jeremy, your pick.
Well, it's not exactly the newest monitor. It's actually a couple years old, but ultra wides with a decent 144 hertz because, like, you can afford the GPU to be driving it faster than that. A Gigabyte G34 WGC, 34-inch, Canadian pricing, $200 off, just $350. FreeSync Premium. Oddly enough, it's rated HDR 400, but ratings actually gives it an HDR 10. So they didn't give it a great rating on it. But hey, if you don't like getting sunburned while you're playing video games, that's not necessarily a bad thing. So yeah, 34-inch ultra wide for $350 Canadian. Not too bad.
Pretty reasonable name as monitor naming conventions go, too.
It's not Acer.
For WQC. All right, Brett, your pick.
Right. Coincidentally, PC Perspective celebrates its 800th episode. Half-Life 2 is celebrating its 20th anniversary. Coincidental? Maybe not. So if you want to continue to enjoy Half-Life 2, a now 20-year-old game, on the latest NVIDIA hardware, why not opt in to RTX On? The entire game has been remastered with ray tracing. I watched a lot of these side-by-sides. Some of it is very subtle. Some of it is very dramatic, vastly improved. And they went through and they did remodels. They did a lot of scene texturing. Now, the engine that Half-Life 2 is built on, it was not possible for them to really enhance it with RTX. So it's all like post-processing, and they have enough overhead now that with the way that the engine works and between the output from the game engine and the GPU itself to be able to intervene and actually add the RTX effects in there using some special NVIDIA techniques. It's amazing what they've been able to do. So this is a way to celebrate. Why not dip in and play another round, walk that bridge, feel that vertigo without VR headset, re-enjoy Half-Life 2. Even
I gotta admit
itself. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Josh.
I gotta admit, for a 20-year-old game, that has aged very well.
Yeah,
extremely well.
Even that, the default graphics, the lighting is still outstanding. How they did a lot of that pre-baked lighting.
A lot of the RTX edition on the lighting, some of the lighting fixtures are actually movable, in the game. So now you're going to find like lights are swinging or moving or getting knocked out, and the light cast is moving around the room, and shadows act a lot more predictable as if they were in real life. Water effects, seeing around corners, specular highlights and reflections are actually, it's all path traced, of course. But it's still a vast improvement. And even NVIDIA is getting in on the act with a 4080 Super themed card I think they're giving away. So you can enter to win that. I think they're only doing one. I wish they were doing like a series, but this is a giveaway.
So is this HL3 confirmed for next year?
Some might say.
We've only been saying that in the last 20 years.
That's I stand with the conspiracy theorists.
But Black Mesa redid the first one with the Half-Life 2 engine. which means that this mod could well be ported to the first one as well.
Oh, conceivably, yeah, you could conceivably do an RTX remake of the first one.
Especially since they're selling it on Steam now, it's not just a free mod.
You know, you
That
just
would be
reminded me of
interesting.
something. We should do like a vote at some point, you know, Black Mesa or Aperture, and just see where everybody comes out, you know. Whose side are they on?
Kent, your pick.
My pick. You know, a lot of people are worried about going out and getting a 9800 X3D because they want to play their games as fast as possible on 1080p or 720p. You know, just don't worry about your CPU and get a 4K OLED because it's a better experience. This monitor was $1,200. It is now $899.99. This is a third gen OLED QD OLED panel, 240 hertz, 4K. I did a review of this monitor, and it is glorious. Every time I see new things on it, it's just amazing. And at that price, I think it's a fantastic deal. And you only need to worry about your GPU, not your CPU at that resolution.
You know, Samsung has their G9 49-inch Odyssey monitor for $100 more at Amazon.
Dang.
I know. It doesn't have all the bells and whistles. Their higher end one version looks like it's $1,079, but still, I've got the the slightly higher end.
And it's
G9 G95 SC? Yeah, it's stunning.
Ooh.
Go OLED. I'm sorry.
It's not actually Amazon's Pimp Your Ride Day yet, is it?
No, it is not.
That happens hours away from now.
All right. I have a pick this week, and there was a story at Tom's Hardware a few days ago about this April Fool's joke from Silverstone, which I hadn't even paid attention to. I didn't know they had done this. It looks like a render of a beige desktop. By desktop, I mean, when you'd actually set your monitor on top of the horizontal PC on your desk. And it has two 5 1/4-inch floppy drives.
They're not.
I know, but they turned this into a real product. Silverstone is actually showing this. And those covers, one of them does hide a 5 1/4-inch bay. That's remarkable enough.
Josh, 5 1/4 bay.
Current year. The other one just flips down for some like front I/O, like USB-C and USB.
But you can get a CD-ROM in there.
Exactly, a full-size one, as you can clearly see here.
Yeah,
using
full
a
height.
5 1/4-inch. And I would like to believe.
Quick, do the second.
This is my next
second
case.
image. Second image.
Yeah, do the second image.
Oh, I thought they'd show us more of the interior.
Oh, there's a page I found that does.
Oh,
okay. There is no turbo button, which does depress me. Even if it doesn't work, I don't care.
Was that you being clever? Turbo button depress me.
Ooh,
dealer's choice. But yes,
yeah, just take the compliment and run.
Oh, I'm not.
I wish they had the center hub locking handle. That would still work, but in some way,
it's there.
It's the motor lock,
aesthetic, though.
I'm going to buy one of these as soon as I can, if it's a reasonable price, because for no other reason, if it takes standard ATX motherboards and it has at least one functional 5 1/4-inch bay on the front, it could be the basis of a nice modern retro build, because it's
the rumors I'm hearing
hard.
are 150, 160 US.
Okay. If you look at what it costs to buy a new old stock case, if you were trying to put something together that's new, you can buy old sealed processors, memory, old sealed hard drives every day. Cases, though, are rare.
I imagine they were very surprised by the initial April Fool's reception that they received.
There's an entire
it looks like it
generation.
does take full ATX.
Yep.
Yeah.
Put like a Pentium 2 Voodoo 3D system in there. Maybe
no, the one I saw had a 4080 in it.
Well, I don't care about the sleeper build thing. I just find it it's very difficult to find retro cases that aren't trashed, or you have to buy a whole system just to get the case, or a lot of the desktop style ones, like the one behind me, they're OEM systems, and they have some proprietary elements to them sometimes.
Yep.
So it would just be nice to have something that takes an ATX power supply, and you can just dump an ATX.
Does anyone have a spare compact power supply?
Yeah, one of those weird ones, like pre-SFX, like small.
I remember cutting the supports out of certain cases in order to cram in a exact, non-exact match in order to get power supplies and rewiring it to make it work, and because you couldn't buy the power supply anymore.
Or systems like this one behind me, this Dimension XPS P100C, which takes a power supply that looks ATX because it uses a 20-pin ATX connector, but it's actually wired up as AT.
Yeah, it's not the same, and any motherboard you plug into it is going to be very unhappy if you don't match the power supply.
Yes. Probably why I had to swap the motherboard in this one, actually.
Oh, I bet. Yeah, that might have had something to do with the caps going pop.
All right, well, this podcast has gone pop. I mean, we hit 800. That's a big achievement. And we couldn't have done it without you, listeners, viewers of the podcast. We want to thank you. We will be back. I don't know if it'll be next week or not. Next week is a holiday in the United States called Thanksgiving.
I will not be able to be here next week for sure.
Yeah, I think it's a no. Last year we did a stream with some retro hardware or something on the night before Thanksgiving.
Oh yeah,
that's about as good as it's going to get. I'll do some kind of live content. I like to do that.
That was cool, actually. I saw that. I caught that. It was very cool.
We'll come up with something. Maybe we'll build a retro system together.
Ooh, that might be
a turkey.
Mark Chambers.
I will buy a turkey and then shove old computer components into it with my bare hands.
Mark Chambers remembers that
put gloves on. My God.
He remembers that it was an Amiga stream, actually.
Yes, it was the Amiga stream.
Yeah,
actually, I have a new
stream.
Amiga since then. After that stream, being frustrated with some of the limitations of the original Amiga.
It's a tradition.
I got an Amiga 500, and it arrived very poorly packed, and the plastic was broken.
Yeah.
And then I looked into it, and you can buy modern cases for them. They actually manufacture new, and they're expensive. So I have not done that yet, but I have a semi-broken but fully working Amiga 500.
Is it keyboard enclosed cases, or do they separate the keyboard away from like A1000 style, or they?
You'd have to rebuild the inside the case. Yeah, you have to put the keyboard from your existing one into this shell.
Understood.
All right. Well, that's it, and I guess I'll just say goodnight and end the recording.
Good night, all.
Good night. Thanks for watching.
I swear, as God is my witness, I thought turkeys could fly.